it's Jackie, and this is The Natural Healing Wheel, the podcast that heals. Today we have Christine Ruch.
It's Ruch, like book.
Ruch. Yeah,
Yep.
So I just have a thing with everybody's name, so just...
That's okay. Everybody has a thing with my name.
And anyway, we have quite a conversation ahead of us today. I'm really excited about this. We're going to go through a bunch of your background and credentials and stuff, but I'd like to just start by saying hello and welcome.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, so diagnosed with MS 20 years ago.
Indeed,
and
yes.
You have worked your way through healing yourself and then ended up having this whole spiritual, emotional, physical healing journey.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the root of what we're all embarking on, I believe. And so you leading and walking through this and then helping others like myself understand the nervous system, for one. Yeah, like we're all living in fight or flight and don't even realize it, right? So let's start. Talk to me about where this all began.
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2006. And at that time, I had two young children. My daughter was 4 and my son was 6. And, there wasn't a lot of information about healing it naturally at all. Like everybody thought that was just crazy. And I don't know that a lot of people recognize that you can even today. But 20 years ago, it definitely looked a lot different. And I actually didn't start 20 years ago thinking I would heal it naturally. It wasn't actually an agenda of mine. The path just unfolded for me. And it started with, I happened to have a naturopath and I get a food sensitivity test. And then I was diagnosed with celiac disease. At the same time, I was diagnosed with MS. And thankfully, I had a naturopath. So I was already pretty into natural wellness. But also, it seemed really radical to think that something like MS could be treated naturally. That was super radical. But there was no question that I was sick, and so I did a food elimination diet first. And based upon this food sensitivity test and me finding out I had celiac disease. And that was that was like the door open to like a whole new path and a way of living. And that was incredibly powerful. And it played like a huge part in the foundation of my healing journey. And then, of course, just tons and tons more healing happened on top of that. But it just gave me the foundation, it gave me the strength, and it gave me the education that your body really does know how to heal if you give it the right environment and you give it the right support, that the body really does know what to do. And so even though I still had a number of health conditions that managed to come up and come my way, I managed to treat all of those naturally and holistically as well, just because I was so convinced that it was absolutely possible. But I think it wasn't really until in the last 3 years that things took a dramatic turn. And as the universe, as I love how you said it, it's like we are all on this journey. We are all here to heal. And we are all here to heal in so many different ways. Everybody has a different path of their healing path looks different. But at the same time, it's all the same in some ways. We are all here to heal and heal ourselves and be better in this life. So yeah, all of a sudden I had a number of very cataclysmic, traumatic, dramatic things happen that led to a whole nother door opening to me and led me to a whole nother rabbit hole of healing that I feel like is so timely and powerful for everybody. And it's not just me and it's not just MS, but it's really absolutely the forefront of the natural healing world. And I'm excited for us to talk about it.
Absolutely. You were talking about in our notes the whole childhood trauma, and that's the energy that's sitting within our bodies, kind of laying dormant, attracting some more trauma and to address it, right? Yeah. So how did you come to that understanding? Sorry, one more thing to back up. The whole celiac, I'd never heard about that until I think one of my daughters had a friend that she danced with, and that was maybe 20 years ago. And I'd never heard of it before that. Now
Yeah,
it's a rampant thing. Everybody has celiac.
I know. It's crazy.
Is
Yeah, for
is that
sure.
something that is new? Like, is it something that we have developed from our food? It seems like it's a big issue.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, one of the things that I ended up doing as a result about 20 years ago is I got a degree in holistic nutrition. And then I went on to open a natural food restaurant, a holistic based food restaurant, and then a number of food brands in Boulder, Colorado for about a decade. And that was really amazing and really successful. And it was an incredible chapter of my life. But to your point about the celiac disease, I believe it has a lot to do in the United States, especially. We are like the forefront of the diagnosis. It has a lot to do with genetic manipulation of wheat. It has a lot to do with glyphosate and the way we spray all of our wheat with pesticides and things like that. So I think that those two things, between the genetic modification and then the heavy pesticide use, definitely has impaired our digestive tract and impaired our ability to assimilate that particular type of protein.
Interesting. I wonder.
And so it leads to like leaky gut and dysbiosis and all sorts of other things, which then, of course, leads to chronic gut inflammation and a whole host of other food sensitivities as well. So that's a whole nother rabbit hole for sure. But a lot of times, as I'm sure you know, autoimmune diseases sort of like come in pairs or triplets. You know, a lot of people kind of collect autoimmune diseases. Not very many people just have one, you know.
Is that right? No, I don't know that. I know that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A lot of people can have multiple autoimmune diseases.
I know my sister had Addison's disease and blew out all her
Oh,
adrenals. So I know we're going to talk about
yeah,
the nervous system today.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
and it's a big one through my growing up, just in our family.
Uh-huh.
There is
But
right on 20, right?
yeah, yeah. But it's so powerful, like what you were saying, though, too, about, like, for example, I thought that, and I lived for a long time with this assumption that it was all food and it was all your body. And even though I had a traumatic childhood, I still felt like I went to therapy. I had a therapist. I did that. I didn't feel like I walked around with like all these mommy and daddy issues. And I didn't feel like I lived a successful life. I had a happy marriage. I had two healthy children. I had a very successful business. And so I didn't present as somebody who had these traumatic things that were unresolved. And I didn't recognize that how much that they were held in my body until I started doing some deeper work. And then it all started coming out, and in a really dramatic way, almost in a way to get my attention, I believe, because sometimes, you know, Christine, you got to hit me over the head with something pretty hard.
Totally. That's funny.
And yeah, so it's like it definitely woke me up to, it was so dramatic and shocking to me that it really woke me up to what was really happening within me. And so then I just started going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was just like, oh my God, I've got to figure this out, you know, because there's clearly something massive going on here that I had no connection to whatsoever.
I think that that's rampant. So many people have no idea. They're not in touch or in tune or, yeah.
Uh-uh. Yeah, they're not at all. They're just not at all. And thankfully, you know, I just think that sometimes I think a lot of us, all of us, in fact, are guided. But for me, I definitely did have like an angel who told me, she was a body worker, and she's the one who started me on this path. And she said, how does it feel? I had a massage. This was like in 2021. This is how it all started. And I was like, she was kind of witchy too, you know, and I wanted to see her because she was a little witchy and I like that stuff. And and so I was like, I feel good. You know, I was like putting on my shoes. It was after my treatment with her. And I was like, I feel good. And she's like, no, really, like, how does it feel? And I was like, how does what feel? And she said, how does it feel to walk around without your head attached to your body? And I was like, what? Like, I was so confused by that. I was like, I don't even know what that means, you know? And so that was really funny. It was almost like an insight by her that there was just this whole other world that I didn't know I wasn't connected to my body. I was like, I'm here getting a massage. I go to yoga. Like, what do you mean I'm not? I mean, I treat my body like a temple. Like, what do you mean I'm not connected to my body? So, yeah, that was just sort of how that door opened for me and made me start digging deeper and deeper. And then as I did, the universe, of course, provided me with all of these opportunities to learn exactly where the trauma was stored, learn how to release the trauma, make me see how I was not living in alignment, how I was living a life in service of my childhood wounds, and that I wasn't living authentically, even though I would never have identified with that. And strangely, you think, how does this affect your health? What does this have to do with your health? And it has everything to do with our health.
What was the switch that happened? Just the conversation, and then you started to ask questions to yourself, or what happened where that awareness kicked in?
Actually, I did a medicine called Kanna, which is a South African succulent. And it's a heart opener. I know it's a heart opening medicine, but probably because it was a heart opening body. So it's a body centric medicine and a somatic medicine, and not like a spirit based medicine like ayahuasca or even psilocybin, which is more spirit medicine. And yeah, it almost like cracked open my heart and I just had this huge traumatic release. I cried and I screamed and I vomited and I sweat, and I had this purge that was just like ancestral. And it went on for like 30 minutes. I don't even know how long it went on. And I was so shocked. I couldn't even believe that this was happening to me. And it was so weird because like there was this little part of my brain that was like online saying, oh my God, this is like just my body just took over. And there was nothing I could do but just be a witness to everything that came out of me. And I was just like so in awe and so shocked that that happened to me. I could actually feel it viscerally afterwards, like the space that was left inside of me after I had purged everything, cried and sweated and screamed and yelled and cried and vomited, and just like I was a disaster. And but afterwards I felt incredible.
That's awesome.
I felt like $1,000,000, you know what I mean? I had no idea, like, and I even lost like 5 pounds like that weekend. It was just so interesting. That also made me realize too, like how much inflammation, how much weight is like probably, you know, if you struggle with your weight, we don't ever talk about like how maybe your body weight is a protective mechanism.
Oh yeah.
Because of your nervous system being so tightly wound and holding your body, holding inflammation. And it was almost like me releasing all of that. My whole body was like, oh, thank God, you know, finally. But that to me was it just opened a whole door to like, what else is there? And how much more do I have to surrender? How much more do I have to release? And what does this actually mean? And so, yeah, it's the path I've been walking.
I've never heard of this before. So it's a plant medicine. And did you go away somewhere like you would do an ayahuasca type thing? Is it kind of that same setup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a ceremony, and there was 2 women who were the facilitators. Although, like, that's kind of like a general way of saying it, but these women are healers, and they're real healing women, for sure. So I feel like to call them a facilitator doesn't do it justice. They knew exactly what they were doing. So, and they were able to just like pull it all out of me, and just, yeah, it was really powerful.
Yeah, we're just storing all of those emotions, right? Like it's so incredible. And it takes up so much space. And wow, what a gift.
Yeah, it was actually the gift of a lifetime. And I want to say, though, too, to people who, like, not everybody is going to feel called to do this work and do a plant medicine ceremony. I recognize that, but there's so many other. I think the most important thing is there's so many powerful ways that you can access it, and also releasing all of this from your nervous system is just one part, right? It's just one. It's a huge part because that's the weight that keeps us down, and the way that we create an identity based upon these traumatic events that we're not even connected to. So it's massive, but it's not all of it. And so I think like there's a whole body of work that is around educating people and supporting them during this process to hold their hand, because really it is a beautiful practice and a beautiful healing work that really does its best if you're guided and held by somebody who really understands what is happening and how this alignment is going to shape your whole life. It will change everything you thought you were and everything you were ever going to be. And so it's really beautiful when it's held by somebody who can really watch the unfolding and support you in that process.
I think that's so important because, first of all, we don't know what we're holding. We don't understand it. We don't see ourselves. And then, like you said, to be in a space where you've got powerful women that are like pure love, right? Helping you, lift you. It's not what we have in our society. Our society is a competitive, I step on you to get on top of, you know what I mean? It's such a horrible, such a horrible system. And this whole healing space is so the opposite. It's the polarity of what we have, what we know. And so it's a learning thing. You're 100% right. To have, what a gift, like to have people who have that knowledge and that wisdom. We don't have that. We've not been taught it. We don't know it.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that that's really what made me. It's like I've always been all about healing people. I had a restaurant for 10 years making the food that I believe everybody should eat. That's the most nourishing for all of us. And I only ever desired to continue to inspire people to change at that time, it was like to inspire you to change your diet so that you could step into, a greater healing. Because even I opened my restaurant in 2013. And at that time, and it was a gluten-free restaurant, holistic natural food, and a kind of a hip, fun environment. And a lot of people weren't connected. It was like healthy food was like hippie food, and gluten-free food was stale and boring. And I really wanted to break a lot of those paradigms to really inspire people to be more connected to the food that they ate and how it nourishes us. And it's really interesting because as my restaurants closed and then this came into my life, and it almost stepped in to replace all of the energy I put into food and nourishing people with food only. As soon as it was almost like actually the universe was telling me, like, okay, you're done with that now. You have something more to share with people. And I do my best by learning it by myself, learning it through my own healing in my own body, and then hoping that I can inspire people with my journey and my story, and hope that, and I was able to then be gifted with mentors and incredible people, these powerful women who taught me how to do the same for other people. And I knew immediately, I was like, yeah, this is what where my life is leading me. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It's so much more than food. Food is powerful and incredible, but it's more than food. And it's all stored in your body and in your nervous system. And I love what you said about love and to be held in love. And because that is an incredibly powerful way of healing. And I don't think that we recognize that at all. It has to be forceful. It has to be forced. There's rigidity, there's rules, there's conformity, there's a lot of taking away your power. And there's a lot of ways in which the healing path as it's traditionally known doesn't serve us, and it doesn't bring out the best in how our body is designed to heal.
100%. And you know, I really have come across exactly what you're saying over the last couple of years. And, you know, also like the knowing, and then the knowing how, right? Like actually implementing the wisdom that, you know, like I've known this stuff for a whole lifetime, but to be able to actually implement it and to be able to see yourself and to see what, you know, where you need to shift. And it's such a journey.
And actually it's the most beautiful journey. You know, coming home to yourself is the biggest gift that any one person can give themselves in this lifetime. And it is difficult, and it is painful, and it is scary, and it is so powerful and so amazing, and the most beautiful journey that you can undertake in this lifetime.
100%. The whole nervous system. Let's talk about that. When did you understand that your nervous system was dysregulated, and how did that?
I met two other healers, and they're really the ones who taught me the art of what I do now. And this particular way of holding the nervous system and allowing it to unfold like a flower. And I didn't even know, actually, until I started doing the work. I didn't make all these connections to the way in which you actually said it so well. We don't actually recognize our own way in which we keep our own nervous system dysregulated. So it's like you can go in and do these traumatic release, and you can go in and try to like release these traumas from your body, and that's one component of it, and it's powerful and important. But if you don't actually also go in and look at these other ways in which you keep your own nervous system dysregulated. You create an entire life in service of keeping your own nervous system dysregulated, right? I have
restaurants doing it. We don't know we're doing it. That's the problem, right?
Yeah, we have no idea.
I've had a real understanding of that, right? Keep hitting the same pavement head first, right? It's like, okay, common denominator, right?
Yeah.
So how do I change that? And we don't know. We don't have that information. How do you love yourself? You were going to yoga, you were doing, you know what I mean? You're feeding, but like it's deeper than that.
It's so much deeper than that. So it is about being able to, because sometimes there's a lot of shadow work that's involved here, right? Because what you're talking about is, and what I'm talking about when we say that these are things that are not available to people, they don't recognize, you don't know the water you're swimming in. You don't perceive necessarily these energetic disturbances that are held within your nervous system. And then you also don't realize, too, I think another component to this is the shadow work and how we keep our own nervous system dysregulated. But then there's another element to this, and that is about emotional capacity. We don't have a conversation in Western cultures around teaching people the whole range of emotional experience that we're meant to have as humans, and how to hold actually those experiences without it identifying us, without creating stories from it. And then from the identity or from the stories, then we make decisions, and then we act from those decisions. And those decisions that we're acting from based upon a false story, from an emotion that's not even true, that you don't even have you know what I mean? Now you're down this whole rabbit hole, and you just made yourself so much sicker by design. And then you're going to see all these doctors to fix me and what's wrong with my body. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it is all within your power to take back your control over this. And it's so easy and simple. We make it so much more difficult than it needs to be, because we don't have the framework in our society for this type of, for how we're meant to heal in love and in community, and in looking at our deeper self and coming home to ourselves and self-love and all of these esoteric, new agey kind of things. But hey, it is 100% the truth for everybody.
I think that there's been an awakening for sure. And I know that for myself, the veil is definitely lifting, and it's a little easier to really see, I guess maybe because of the extremes that are happening in our world, right? The polarities are so extreme that I don't know if that's what's making the veil a little bit thinner, but it's definitely these stories that we tell. And like you said, we're not checking in on those stories, and whatever we're sharing in that energetic field, right? And maybe when we were younger, it was really fun to tell that story, and we'd add a little bit to it, and then we'd get this and create at a party, right? But we're like bringing that to us, right? That energy, and we don't even know that we're doing that.
I know, we don't even know. And it's interesting because I'm all for, like, let's say, I have a lot of podcasts and I love to talk about this and try to spread the awareness and inspire people to look more deeply at these elements within themselves in their own healing path. And it is things that you can do for yourself. And these is the beginning is like this awakening, right? To wake up to all of these subtle layers of things that we don't really hold space and allow ourselves to actually see. But also, it's so important, like you said, to have somebody who's there walking alongside you, who can really, really, really hold space for you as you do this work, because it is a lot of it stuff that you can't see and that you're not necessarily, it's like learning a whole new language. And it's like, it's not something like, okay, let's say you can read about it in a book or something like that, but that's all mental. This work is pure embodiment. It's pure, it's in your body. It's not this mental, we're moving from the mind into the body. And so we're moving from this mental knowledge into body-based truth and wisdom. And so it's a totally different paradigm.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. I think my biggest gift has been the Dr. Joe Dispenza work and like doing the breath work and having the wisdom along with a practice. And I have to tell you, I don't do it every day. There'll be days it's the first thing that goes, right? And it's like, it's so crazy how that happens so quickly, right? You're running, we put ourselves on the back burner, and really, it's so important, right? Because it's just breathing into your heart, opening up your heart space. All of a sudden now you got this brain-heart coherence, and then like there's this shift, and you can actually find yourself, your God self, your divine self, right in here. And we're all taught to look to the doctor, to the friend, everybody else is going to heal us, and they're not.
No, they're not.
Right? And they're not changing, right? And it's so simple, but it's we don't know it. So it's a practice, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you know what? I love that you're teaching this and that you're guiding people through this, because I'm working my way through it, and it's tough. And there's some days I'm in the fetal position, and there's other days where I'm like, okay, I got this, right? But we become our unconsciousness, right? We're here, and then all of a sudden, whoop, off we go, right? Something true.
Yeah. And that's where like building capacity comes in, and coming home to yourself over and over and over and over, because it's so easy for us to flip out into our mind, and like it's so easy, and it is a practice. And I just like to say, like, coming home to yourself over and over and over, and as you do that over and over and over, you build capacity, and then slowly over time it becomes more embodied and not something that is a forced practice, but just a matter of a way of actually just being.
And so my experience was the nervous system, right? And so going into that practice and just closing your eyes and breathing into your heart, just for that even a minute, my whole nervous system will regulate. It's wild. I had a couple of really nasty concussions, and then a whole bunch of family deaths, and like just a whole pileup of everything you could imagine go wrong. And I was not well. My nervous system was just fried, and I'm really grateful to be where I am, but it's just through this work that, and just kind of being able to understand that the nervous system and the traumas and the childhood stuff that I keep replaying, it's all.
Do you notice Yeah, part and parcel. Have you noticed shifts in your health as you've gone through this nervous system and this journey?
I can shift my health like that. So I actually had something where I didn't even realize, but I was losing eyesight in one eye, and they wanted to give me some injections and so this and that, and I was like, no, I can heal that myself, right? My blood pressure was really high just from so much stress, right? Just the constant not understanding how to pull myself out of it. And so I was just, of course, I'm an air sign as well, so really hard to ground. But yeah, all of a sudden, just doing the mirror work, and I see, right, and I am whole and healthy, and my eyesight is pretty much 100% now in that eye. My blood pressure, that was off the charts. I couldn't get some dental work done. They plugged in, and they were like, yeah, no, and I went, oh, really? But it's now level, or you can get on some medication. Oh no, I don't. I need to go.
But this is so powerful, and I want everybody who's listening to this to really hear this, because this is a totally different way of looking at how we heal. You think you go into your blood pressure, and let's look at your diet, and let's put you on a blood pressure medicine and those type of things to fix your blood pressure, not go into your nervous system to fix your blood pressure. Multiple sclerosis, any other disease, it's the exact same thing. You go into MS and everybody's like, oh, it's your myelin sheath, and it's, you're demyelinating and all of these things. And let's go in and look at your immune system and where your immune system is going wrong, and put you on these immune modulation drugs and biologics, right? But it's a disease of the nervous system. And so no one ever actually suggests that you can re-sculpt your nervous system. You can create a relationship with your nervous system. And it is multi-dimensional for sure. It is not just a straight one and done, take this pill and then you're clear, but it's far more lasting. And so it's like, and you know what's so beautiful about it too is, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but like I have more ease and more freedom and more ease and freedom in my life than I've ever had before. When I lived my life before, where it was all about the rules and the diet and so many things that I had to get right so that I could keep my MS symptoms. Well, everything was so tight. Everything was full of contraction, constriction, some tightness, rigidity. And I was conscious of everything, you know what I mean? And it's like that in and of itself was damaging to my nervous system to live like that. And now when I have a modulated nervous system, I have so much freedom and flexibility. I can eat so much, like I can rest really well. I sleep like so well. How many people do you know who have like chronic insomnia? And we have this whole industry trying to treat people for their insomnia. Well, I want to guarantee you that people who have insomnia can't sleep because you have a dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah.
And then you do right, and then you do things to keep your nervous system dysregulated. And for sure, sleep hygiene is important, but then you create this whole like rigidity around your sleep.
Another news story that we believe, and as soon as we believe it, we manifest it, and it creates, and yeah, it's a constant. Yeah.
And it's not true.
None of it's true. We're just making it all up. I know.
And all these industries are sprouting up in service of our like insomnia. And it's actually all within us. It's your nervous system.
It really is. Yeah. I think the only way for me is to do the meditation. It's the only way that I can regulate it is to go in and to breathe and to stop the, right? That I don't know that I realized that I was even doing. I read Michael Singer's book. Can't think of the name of it right this minute, but of course I then had to buy it for everybody. But he's explaining, what's happening there and the stories that we're telling and how, and he breaks it down so simply that I was able to really grasp what was happening, what I was doing. But then it's a real process to be able to, like you said, break down like the belief systems that we've now took on. Is that even true? Where did I get that from? Right. It's a bit of a curve, right? But it's definitely worth it, right? Yeah. You get those really long spaces of, wow, right? I'm here, right? But there's always growth, right? So
yeah, always.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, I had a week across into the US at a place called the Averio Clinic, and they're chiropractic, and they just treat you and they put you in all these different rooms, healing rooms, right? Cupping and massage and brain treatment, and they fed us, juiced and lunched, and I'll tell you what, and then they sat you down and we had like a learning about the body and how it rejuvenates itself. We make a new body all the time. So we're making the same sick body or whatever's not working because we believe that. And so it's just giving us what we believe, right? It's it's incredible. Really, we're powerful.
Well, what I think is so cool about what you just said, which is another aspect of this that I think doesn't sound like nervous system work. We're going to go into a totally different direction here. But it's where a lot of like quantum theory is starting to come into a lot of people's fields right now. And it definitely is in your nervous system and in your health too. And that is really about how you create your own reality. And, we create our own reality, and it is, and that doesn't, like, you said it multiple times just in this last 45 minutes we've been talking, and it's really interesting. And then we create these stories, and then we create our own reality. And that is actually quantum theory, because you can actually change the way you think about something and have a different outcome. And it sounds like, manifestation, or it sounds like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like super available to people, but also you're doing it every single day. Every one of us are doing it every single day. And it's really interesting to me. It's something that I'm really interested in. And because it goes such a long way in like how we believe, the stories we tell about the disease we have, or the identity that we create around our health conditions. And then there's, like you said, a whole bunch of industries that support our identity around any health condition that we may have that just continues to reinforce it. And it's just so fascinating. It's like the moment you're willing to actually wake up and to step outside of that, and then what's really amazing is there's a whole nother world that is out available to you. There's a whole nother way of living that you've never actually had access to. And that I find is, like, for me personally, been the most exciting, phenomenal part of it. Is like this whole world opens up to you that you had absolutely no access to before. And it's just so amazing that you could be living one life and then you could live a totally different life, and you look like you're the same person in the same body, but everything is entirely different, and you're free, and you have easeful and full of love and full of joy, and the way we're supposed to be, the way we're supposed to live.
So do you think that, like, I believe that we need to have the knowledge of what's actually happening first, and then so that then we can implement. Do you know what I mean? Do you believe that, or do you believe that there's kind of just, I guess it's different for everybody, but just an awakening where you can actually just start to see yourself?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit different for everybody, because I would like to know, like, okay, so it's interesting to have the label and be like, oh, I have eczema, or I have celiac disease, or I have an autoimmune disease, or I have high blood pressure. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I think that for me, I've understood this work for a long time. When I was younger, I'd read Wayne Dyer, and it was kind of like a bio. I'd just open it up and read, and I'd just feel better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And then when I found myself, on my knees, I came across a podcast of Dr. Joe Dispenza. And then, I grasped it because it was knowledge that I just was like, oh, like this is that wisdom, that understanding, I think is what gave me my power to move forward.
For sure. Yeah, I think everybody comes to it in their own way, and there's many different ways that you can. But I think one thing that I really love to do is just really ask people if they're living their best life. And if they and how much of like their dreams they've given up or forgotten about, and how much of the life that they thought that they would be living when they were imagining themselves, whatever, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how much of that they've given up in service of the job that they think that they have to have, or whatever it is, the health diagnoses like that they cater to, or the relationships that don't really serve them, or the job that doesn't serve them. How much have they given up that picture and that vision of themselves and their fullness of themselves? And do they believe that it's within their power to have that? And if they authentically believe it, are they willing to go for it? Are they willing to do it? Are they willing to do the work to have that life? And it's all an inside job, and it's infinitely available. We're born with these codes. We're born this way. And it's just a matter of them believing that they're capable of it, and they want it badly enough that they're going to do the work.
And so what do you say to people, like, what is the work? When you're coaching and guiding people through this, what is the work? What does that look like?
We've touched on a lot of these elements, and a lot of it is like being willing to like look at these shadows and the ways in which, and by the way, this isn't something that I bring up to you and say, oh, you have this shadow. No, because it's really you realize it yourself, because that's where the biggest change is, right? The biggest change comes from our own recognition, our own realization, our own connection to the truth, our truth. And so it's really just about holding space for you to come into your truth. And now, is there difficult times? Yeah, because you're going to do some traumatic release. Certain elements are going to come up. Certain childhood traumas that you forgot all about are going to arise from your nervous system to be seen, to be cleared, to be released. So all of this happens over time. And it's a process that just unfolds real naturally and real gently, because your nervous system knows what to do. Your nervous system wants to be in balance and in harmony. And so it's just a matter of holding space for somebody to walk their own path to their own truth. And it looks a little bit different for everybody. But at the end of the day, I think it's about holding space for the wisdom of your body. And your body knows exactly what to do. And so I just hold the space for that truth to emerge.
Wow, I love that. I think that that's so important, because we don't take that time. Like, so I started this little practice, right, where I feel an energy shift, right? Something's agitating me. And instead of just ignoring it, which we all have been taught to do, I've just been sitting down right there, right? Sit down, breathe. Where is it in my body? And, sometimes I can't do that or whatever. Yesterday, it was kind of like I had to get to almost the end of the day before I did it. But I was like, okay, I have this bellyache, and I've had that bellyache before. So something, I was hearing something or write something. What was I listening? What were the thoughts? What was the interaction? Like, what is that pain that I'm holding in my lower belly? Because it's, and I think where we get sick is when we don't ask, we don't stop and address ourselves, right? And then we get something else, right? And so I have been working on just kind of sitting and breathing through, not judging, just allowing it instead of shoving it down and not looking at it to go away.
100%. You're so right. We do not really recognize that our body is talking to us. and we don't hold space for ourselves to actually sit in stillness and just really contemplate and listen to what our body is telling us, and then take action. Like, we stuff it down, we deny it, we create a story around it, we do all these things, or we don't trust it, and then exactly what you said, then your body creates another set of symptoms because it's desperately trying to get you to listen. And but you said so many powerful things, and that's all the practice is, over and over and over again, coming home to your body and coming home to realizing that your body is always talking to you. And what I also find beautiful in this practice, it is hard because a lot of people don't do that, and it is a challenge at the beginning to just sit and hold those sensations without creating a story around them. But one of the other things that I've noticed too, as I've started to do the work and working with other people and they start to take aligned action, is actually you gain a lot of self-compassion and a lot of self-love, because you're so connected to what your body is doing for you. And it is so awe-inspiring and majestic in a lot of ways, because it is just like, wow, how amazing is this, And then to have compassion for yourself and all the things and the ways that your body is desperately trying to get you to pay attention. And I don't know. I think it's a really beautiful side thing that happens while you're doing this practice. On one hand, to try to figure out why you have the stomach ache, but then when you figure it out, and then you create this positive feedback loop, because your body starts to trust you as you start to trust your body, and then in that positive feedback loop, it's just this reverence starts to come in. And the self-compassion starts to come in, and these other things that we kind of chase start to settle in your system automatically, and that's also a real beautiful byproduct of the work.
So when our body is acting up, it's because it's trying to show us something to be released, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I love this work. It's tough though, because, and I think it all boils down to self-love, honest to goodness. Yesterday, when I finally came to, I wasn't really 100% sure where the bellyache started, or you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I believe that it's just the chatter, and I was probably not being nice to myself somewhere in there, was because I was like, okay, I know that anything happened, but it's a bellyache that I have had and felt through kind of this intense situation for this last few years. And I'm like, okay, I really need to release this, right? So like, yeah. And then I thought, okay, I think I'm just not loving myself. I'm just not being, but I don't know that we know how. And I think that the only way is to go in and breathe into my heart. That's the only way I know.
And I love what you were just saying though, too, because sometimes maybe it is about all those other things. Like, is it anxiety? Is it a relationship that doesn't work? Or is it these circumstances, whatever it is that was happening in your life, that is manifesting as a stomach ache? And a lot of times in our society, we just think the stomach ache and we're like, oh my God, where's like the antacids? Or where do I go to the doctor to find out what's wrong with my stomach? And then they're going to be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with your stomach. And you're like, but you're creating this recognition that there's these other ways in which your body, like whatever those personal dynamics are in your life that you were referring to, but that those dynamics are actually being perceived and felt in your body, and your body is telling you, like, this isn't working. And it's coming out as a stomach ache. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But sometimes you're right, it's hard to connect the dots. And you have to be your own little detective.
Well, I think that we really need to have somebody like yourself who has the knowledge, and like, it's so worth our time, because it's years otherwise by ourselves, right?
It's truly years. But it is really beautiful. And thank you for saying that, because when you are held in like a container for this work, and the other thing that's really beautiful is that you're creating a commitment to yourself. And you're showing up for yourself in this commitment, in this container, over and over and over and over again through the journey, because we're on a journey together. And as we go on this journey, for you to come home to your truth and come into alignment with your authenticity, and you to start acting from a completely different place, it's really powerful. And it's like my biggest honor, but it's just so beautiful for somebody to recognize that they are making a commitment to show up for themselves over and over and over again. And so many times we don't do that, right? We put ourselves last, and or we don't create the time or the space. But when you're in a container of fully held for this entire process, then it's really powerful what happens much more quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know,
the intention and the energy, and then having that, having somebody ground you and be able to see and kind of guide, I think it's so big. It's so big. What's that? What do you do, like kind of like an online Zoom? What are the services that you're providing? How?
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because the container itself is, it's funny because I will say my own judgment when I went through my process with this, as I went through this journey and then learned how to do this and then create this opportunity for other people to work with. But so it's a WhatsApp group, and it's you and I on this WhatsApp group. And not everybody in the US uses WhatsApp, but I really like it because you're leaving me voice messages all the time. I have a stomach ache. I don't know why I have a stomach ache or whatever it is. And I'm always reflecting back to you and holding space for everything that you're experiencing. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing to do. I hold you in complete love, nothing but compassion and love and acceptance all the time. You can leave me a message about anything, everything, all of it, all of it, all of it. But what's interesting is then I'm always reflecting back to you. And then once or twice a month, then we get on Zoom together for about an hour, hour and a half, and dive really deeply into something that you'd really like to talk about. And while that sounds really simple and it sounds like, really, is that enough? But do you think about, like, you go to your naturopath. How often do you go to your naturopath or your doctor or your therapist? Let's just say you go to your therapist. Let's start with that one. You go to your therapist maybe once a week for an hour. And then you have to like pick up where you left off, and you have to remember everything that happened in the last week. And this is a little bit different because you're constantly being held without judgment, with love, and learning how to hold yourself in capacity, how to build your own capacity, how to make these connections to the things that you're feeling. Also, your nervous system, it's about limbic resonance. And so I have this perfectly modulated nervous system all the time. And your nervous system attunes to my nervous system all the time because that's how the nervous system works. It's always seeking attunement. And then this is where a little bit of the quantum theory comes in as well, because it's the witnessing and observing. And when something is witnessed and observed, it changes really quickly. And then the other thing that happens is I am holding space for your highest self. Sometimes it's hard for you to see your highest self because we get lost in the muck. And it's easy to lose sight of your highest agenda. And I only hold the highest view of you and your greatest expression of your fullness of your soul's desires and your full alignment. And your body and your nervous system is constantly attuning to my vision of you as I am witnessing you and you are observing yourself. And in this container, just this whole container, you also can go back and listen to your messages. And you can recognize in your voice, oh, that's what I sound like when I'm really anxious. Or, wow, I was really upset about that a month ago. And it's interesting because it doesn't trigger me like that anymore. Or you can go back and listen to my reflections to you over and over and over again as it brings you comfort, or as you want to understand it a little bit better, or as you want to be like, wait, will you explain that to me again? I want to understand more deeply what you meant by this reflection. And so it's back and forth forever and ever, 24/7. You can leave me a message at midnight You can leave me a message at 5 a.m. and I'm constantly replying back to you. And it's beautiful because what ends up happening is your nervous system will unfold like a flower. And it's a really beautiful practice. And I do that for you for 9 months, your birthing process. And then what happens as a byproduct is your health will start to change. Your immune system will start to shift. Your state of wellness will modulate. Your nervous system will modulate. Your moods will modulate. And you'll start making your own changes in your life as you start to make connections between what serves you and what doesn't serve you anymore. As you start to see, you and I were talking about at the beginning, you start to see the things that you couldn't see before. And then suddenly you realize, oh, well, that is, I can't have that friendship. Or like, wow, that job is really killing me. And so you start to take action for yourself, for your own truth and for your own well-being in a way that's just really authentic.
Wow, that's really powerful. I'm listening to you saying that, and so you're supporting somebody to create a new thought pattern, really, and to be able to, when you're feeling low, like, you know, I would stop for 30 seconds or whatever, breathe, but I can be like, blah, 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 best friend type thing, right? And then there's a shift in that energy because you're helping clean it, cleanse it, and lift it and see. I do understand that the vision, right? It's so powerful. We need to see ourselves as our best self. And if we can,
or have somebody who does see you that way, because a lot of times we don't see ourselves that way, right? We have a lot that gets in the way between how we see ourselves today and who we want to be. And what if you were always held by somebody like your mom or whatever, who always told you in their highest, and for you to always be reflected as your highest self being reflected back to you is incredibly, incredibly powerful.
100%. You know what? It just made me think, like, my mom thought I was the cat's pajama. She just thought the sunshine out of me. And I thought that I was the greatest because she thought I was the greatest. There's something to be said about that. There really is. Yeah. I don't know that she was doing anything energetically or whatever, but that energy of somebody holding and supporting you is so big. It's so big.
Yeah, it's really big. And what I love about it too is, one thing is, it sounds so simple and it's easy to underestimate. And what I love to tell people too is, what's really fun is a fun little exercise. And that is, as I'm telling you what this looks like, your mind could be doubting, disbelieving, whatever's happening in your mind. Oh, it couldn't possibly be that. But at the same time, pay attention to how your body feels when I talk about this. Does your body feel like relieved? Does your body feel like walking, oh, I can rest? Do you feel a sense of relief in your body? Even as your mind is like, no, that could not, that's bad, I don't know. But your body is absolutely already responding to what I said.
I love that. I just love that. I do, because so the people that are not connected to what's going on within them, I totally am. It's awful, right? Because it's like I feel everything, and I mean, which is a good and a bad thing, right? But the people that are not, like my ex-husband, he would be like, "You actually know that? You feel that?" Like, he would just say, "I'm just not connected like that at all." God, that's like a huge shift. It's a huge shift because it's integrating the mind, body, spirit, right? Instead of just he's just in the mental.
It is absolutely integrating it. And you know, when you are integrating it, it's not just integration, but it's alignment. And when you're aligned, we don't ever think about how important it is to align our mental thoughts over here, and we don't even think about spirit. That feels like something that has to do with religion or blue stuff or whatever anybody's personal relationship is with that. Our body, we don't know. Do we have a body? Do we feel our body? Are we connected to our body? All three of these things are all separate, right? But to bring them all together in alignment in a fully embodied way, I believe activates your inherent healing codes, the way that we were really born. We are born as self-healers. We know exactly how to heal. But what if we need to come into full alignment with all of these things in order to fully step into our healing, our full healing capacity? And healing capacity, we say healing, it's like so multi-layered, but just living in the fullness of yourself and in with so much joy and truth and happiness and abundance. And it's just like, that's how we're supposed to live.
And I think we can only live like that if we're in the present moment, right? And so because we're normally not in the present moment, we're in the past and what might happen, and then I got to do that
in our head.
and I'm going to say that. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're just not. That's a practice as well, right? To just get in the moment so that we can experience something new and find.
Well, yeah, and that's what's so great about this experience, this container, because it's for 9 months. I'm constantly bringing you back, 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 bringing you back over and over and over and over. And you're building capacity for that and that practice over and over and over for yourself. And then suddenly, like, it clicks and you are in alignment. We hold it for a little longer so you don't slip out again. But like that, you really land in your body and land in your truth. And then that's the place that you are always at. And you can never get back out of it. It's permanent, you know?
Oh, I love that. Now you have totally a brand new pattern because we're stuck in these old patterns. Right? Mm-hmm. All right, sign me up.
Great.
Right?
Let's do it. Let's start.
It's so big. I just know because my nervous system has been so crazy for so long. And then I think just with the concussions and the deaths and the business, like this, pile it up. And then because of space, I'm attracting more of it. And and I know all that. But when you're in that, and that's coming at you like that. Yeah, it was like a total stripping of everything of my life, right? And I get that, but yeah, it's such a spell, and it's so hard when we're already in it, right? How you got out last time, but now all of a sudden you're back in the trigger, and okay, what did I do last time? Like, it's just to have that support of what you're talking about is so cool. It really is.
Well, what I love about what you just said was so powerful, because when I started working with these women and I learned the art of what I'm doing right now, well, I didn't know that this is what I would be doing. But I was in the middle of something really massive, right? I was in the middle of a very, very big traumatic changes in my life as well. And I was very lost and very confused. And I was like, what's happening to me? How did this happen? What is going on? I was completely like, I can't even tell. I was just a mess, And what was really amazing is when I shared with them what I was like out of my mind, and just the very fact that they were just like ready to hold me,
right,
and ready to hold everything. And then they said, like, you're going through a transformation and it's hard and you need support. And I was just like, what? I am? Like, no one had ever said that to me before. And I left this meeting with them. I just was crying because no one had ever wanted to hold me like that before. I had my ex-husband and I had really good friends and I had therapists, and I thought I knew what that was, but until they were actually literally like, you need support, and this is what we do. And I just was like, I need that. I don't understand anything you just said, except that I know, my body knows, I need that. And I did. I just was like, I have no idea. I just had to. And then, it changed my entire life. Here I am right now. but just that feeling of just being held with and supported so unequivocally, no judgment ever whatsoever.
And we just don't. We live in a society that's just so full of judgment, and everybody's judging each other, and it's just such a cesspool. It's so gross.
It's so terrible.
And then in our private moments, I think that's what's happening, right? Is we'll have like a flashback of something, and then we're beating ourselves up about something. We're not even really realizing that that's what we're doing. But when you start to pay attention, it's incredible. It's all the time going on in our head, just spinning stories of, so creating some new higher vibration, and then some visions of, like, I think that's a big thing, right? Like, how do you want to see yourself? What is the best version of yourself? It's like, how many people are doing that?
Not very many.
Right. And so unless we can see it and feel it, we're not going to embody it because we don't know where we're going. Well, good job, girl. I love that.
This is an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for diving in.
No, this is great. This is incredible work. And I love that you're addressing the whole nervous system, because I really came across that. You know, I've been living in fight or flight my whole life. Didn't know that. But I mean, my sister has Addison's disease, right? From growing up in our house. Right? Our parents were vibrating at this level, and all of our family vibrates at that level. And then the universe is vibrating at some fear crazy level. Right? So you have a look at it and get under the victim, and like that's a whole other thing, right? It's just
a whole other thing.
We're just set up to fear and fail, it feels like. But as soon as we have that wake up and we see people like you're just beaming, glowing, peace, love, right? Good for you. Yeah, thanks for sharing your work.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. It was an honor to be on your show.
And so how are they going to get a hold of you? We're going to go
you can reach out to me on my website, christineruch.com. And then on there, you can either email me, my email address is on there, or you can schedule a call with me and we can chat it out and I talk about anything. And then if you want to know a little bit more about me and kind of my background and my belief structure and how I feel about the healing path, I have a Substack. And you can go on my website, and there's a link that you can go onto my Substack and you can read all about, I have great recipes on there, and then I also just talk about alignment and all sorts of things. And then I also have a lot of my own personal healing journey. I also have things on there about psychedelics, healing with medicine, psychedelic path, a bunch of different topics. But yeah, you can get a little bit more of a flavor about me, and
Oh, that's awesome.
But reach out.
Thank you. I'm going to reach out. I think that this is a wonderful thing. This would be really good for me.
No, I love that you said that. I think it would be too.
Yeah.
Okay,
well, let's catch up down the road. Let's do some work together, and then chat about it and see.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing?
See what we.
That would be so amazing. Because oh my gosh, more people need to know how to do this. And like let me just say this one last thing. So these women that taught me all of this, my nervous system was completely shot. And I didn't even know it. It was completely shot, and I had just destroyed my life, and it was completely shot. I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. And it was insane. But what is so amazing, though, is that they teach other healers how to do this because they believe that it should be passed on. That, like, not everybody can just go to them. They want to work with other women who are space holders and healers. And I was already a space holder and a healer. I just looked different. You know, I was a chef and had 75 employees. You know what I mean? But this is like something that needs to be spread, right? Like, other people need to experience it for themselves, and then you need to be able to share this. It needs to be shared, and not just working with these two women in Nosara. How many times, are you going to go to Nosara for 9 months? I mean, it'd be nice, but it's powerful because that's what they strongly believe, and like how imperative it is for us to spread this information and to teach other people how to hold space in the same way that facilitates this type of healing.
Yeah, because when you're loving and giving to another, it's hundredfold for yourself, first of all, and you're approaching it in a place of holding space and giving and loving. I think that when we understand that alone, that's the good stuff, right? That's giving and sharing love to another it is, the gift is yours, right? It's so huge.
No doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a good rest of your day. And
thank you, Jacqueline.
Let's catch up.
I can't wait. Yeah, okay. You know how to find me.
I do. And so does everybody else.
Yes. Wonderful.
Thanks.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for hanging out and learning with me about how we can become the best version of ourselves. See you next time.